Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so would you take $2 million or would you take dinner with Michael Penix Jr.? Because it seems like Joe Shane is taking the dinner with Michael Penix Jr. The Giants absolutely love taking people out to dinner. Every time I look up, they're taking another quarterback out to dinner. Michael Penix is a guy who's really high on my board. He's a guy that they tried to say he wasn't mobile. Guess what? The guy just ran a 4.4 at his pro day. Who cares? Maybe they bent it. Maybe they bent things a little bit. Maybe he didn't run a 4.4. Maybe he ran a 4.5. Maybe he ran a 4.6. But guess what? That's not statue. They're not taking a half of a second and taking it off of his 40. So Michael Penix Jr. is athletic. He can move. He may not be the twitchiest guy, but he can move. He can throw the ball a country mile. He can hit guys accurately, throwing the ball deep, and he just completely lights up college football. He lit up college football every time he's out there, pretty much. The problems with him are that he can't stay healthy for the most part, and he's a little bit older. But these are similar things, and people are going to call me crazy. This is very similar to Joe Burrow. He's coming off of injuries. He was getting labeled as that guy that couldn't stay healthy. He's a little bit older. He wasn't really a standout player, even though I think Penix Jr. was a standout player before he got why am I forgetting, completely blanking on before he got to Washington. He was that standout player, but he just couldn't stay healthy. So I think a guy with this much experience in college, who's been there, who's done that, who really took it to Oregon, who took it to USC, who took it to pretty much all of these big teams that you would say are threats. Not to say USC was really anything crazy, but you guys get the point of what I'm saying. He had to go against Caleb Williams, and he did not back down. So I think Penix Jr. is going to be a great pro. I think he's going to be a great pro. I think if you look at his game, he's hitting guys in stride. He's getting out of the pocket when he needs to. Not every time. He's not someone that's just scrambling around for 20 minutes every time, but he's on time. He's accurate. He has a nice release. He gets rid of the ball very quickly. He can get the ball to every single spot on the field again. Deep balls, you already know he can do that. Short area, mid area. He's not scared of the moment. The guy battles. He's a champion. He hasn't won a championship, but you get what I'm saying. He's a guy that's going to battle, that's not going to back down in those big moments. And he's had those injuries, and that's really the only thing that concerns me. But he's always come back from those injuries. He's not scared out there. He's not a guy that's back there like, oh, I just hurt myself, so I got to make sure he's not back there like that. So getting a guy like him on the Giants, I mean, you got a guy like Jalen Hyatt out there who has been really having a rough time as a Giants player. Let's be honest. Jalen Hyatt has been running open for like half of the time he's been a Giant, and no one, until Tyrod Taylor, and I don't even think he did that until maybe like once, but until Tyrod hit Darius Slayton on that one deep ball, I didn't see anyone get hit in stride. I haven't seen anyone get perfectly hit in stride since Saquon Barkley against Washington in like 2020. Was it 2020? 2019 or 2020 was when Saquon ran that wheel route straight up the middle of the field. The traitor ran that wheel route straight up the middle of the field and scored. Got hit in stride by Daniel Jones, but since then, it has been really rough throwing these deep balls. And it's funny because Daniel Jones got that reputation that year from PFF as a guy who was really efficient throwing the ball deep. And they were like, he's got to take more shots, and that's the strength of his game, but he doesn't do it. So maybe he was so good just because he just took so few shots down the field that when he did it, guys were wide open. Because that year, I didn't see guys get hit in stride. So looking back at Penix, I think he's going to be able to hit a guy like Hyatt in stride. I think he's got a stronger arm than anybody that's played on the Giants in a very long time. I think he's got that ability to make quicker decisions there. To even if he didn't have that strong arm, he'd be able to hit guys in stride. And you got a guy like Darius Slayton across from Jalen Hyatt, and then you've got Wando Robinson underneath. So I really think, and this isn't me saying that these guys are going to both be 1,000-yard receivers, but I think these guys are going to be very explosive if we get that guy in here. I think I think out of every quarterback, if you want to say what quarterback is going to have a big rookie year this year, I would say Michael Penix Jr. Because looking at Caleb Williams, he's going to have some issues. He's on the Bears. They're not really that good of a football team. They don't have that immediate oomph to just say, okay, Caleb Williams is going to take over and all of a sudden look great. Not to say he won't, but I think he's going to have some bumps. You saw him under duress in college, and he had some bumps and bruises. And you look at him, and he's a guy that's going to run himself out of plays. He's a guy that's going to try to make things happen, and on a bad team, that can be a recipe for disaster. This isn't me saying he's going to be a bust, but that's just me giving some context. You look at Drake May, same thing. He's a guy that's going to try to be Superman. He's a guy that's a little bit more raw, a guy that started off as the consensus number 2 pick. All of a sudden, people are saying he's going to fall, which I don't think will happen. Could also be a Giant. I'd love that too. But looking at those 2 top guys, looking at Jaden Daniels is a freak athlete. He can really run the football. He can really throw the ball deep. I think he's a guy that can really make things happen. But as far as just looking at the NFL game and saying, what guy day one is going to be able to win from the pocket, that's going to be able to make quick decisions under pressure, that has that seasoning, that I think is just going to be able to really hit the ground running as a rookie, that's Michael Penix for me. Again, Jaden Daniels is a close second, and I think Jaden Daniels could be the best quarterback coming out in this draft just because of that running ability and that ability to also be decisive and also throw that deep ball. And he's the guy that I would want on this team the most, besides a guy like Caleb Williams, who just has a ceiling, way up there. But as far as day one, I think Penix hits the ground running. I think Penix will be under pressure, and he just gets rid of the football immediately. So I'm excited to see where he goes, and it was good to see that the Giants are interested. It's good to see that the Giants are doing their due diligence at the quarterback position because we need help there. We need help. And I still have Daniel Jones over my shoulder. That'll change. I'm sure that'll change. But for now, again, we need help. Michael Penix Jr. will be there with the 6th overall pick. And if for some reason he's not, then Drake May will be there, or Jaden Daniels will be there. It's just physically impossible. I highly doubt that Caleb Williams will go 1, Jaden Daniels will go 2, Drake May will go 3, Penix will go 4. I just don't think that will happen. So J.J. McCarthy is another guy. So I just don't think all 5 of those guys will go before our 6th pick. And I think quarterback is the most important position on the field. So why play around with it? I think you have 5 good quarterbacks. I think Bo Nix could be a solid. He could be like a good quarterback, like a top 12 quarterback, or he could just be just Bo Nix and just not be good. So I'm not sure. I'm not touching drafting Bo Nix, but he could be good. But I think those top 5 guys, I think you have something with those, or where you can justify taking one and saying, give me 3 or 4 years with this guy to see if he's good. And if not, we'll be doing it all over again. But don't pass on the opportunity to get one of these quarterbacks in here when we will have a shot at one of these top 5 quarterbacks. There will be one of them on the board. So let's not play around. I know Malik Neighbors is in the picture. I know Rome Odunze is in the picture. And they should be. But please, Joe Shane, go into the draft with the opportunity and with the thought of saying, maybe I should leave with the quarterback within the first 2 rounds. And when I say first 2 rounds, I mean maybe you need to trade back up after you take a Malik Neighbors or a Dunze and snatch Michael Penix, because he will not make it to the 2nd round. You made it this deep into the video. Come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.